Listen, by the time I've finished editing and get around to putting this video up, the Williams sales pitch I'm about to launch into will probably be an exercise in futility, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Hi, my name's Kimmy and I talk about Formula One in the world's second worst English speaking accent. Now, earlier this year, I thought that Carlos Sainz to Sauber/Audi was a 99% slam dunk done deal. But then Sauber went on their terrible pit stop and general awfulness tour, Dadlos switched allegiances from Audi to Ford, and Toto Wolff started openly romancing Max Verstappen. For a while there, I genuinely thought the 2025 Red Bull lineup was going to be Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez. Then Sainz started talking about wanting to go to a team where he felt loved and valued and appreciated. And yeah, the Red Bull meat grinder just does not give off those vibes in any way, shape or form. I actually don't think that deal was ever realistically on. I would have loved to seen it, but I just no. That's a man with too much self-respect. And if I'm completely honest, I actually still think Sauber is a pretty decent shout. Yeah, the car's terrible and the team's making every mistake you can possibly imagine. Honestly, it kind of just feels like most of the team is waiting for Andreas Seidel to just fire them all in favour of having a team made up entirely of German efficiency. But Sainz is an opportunity for them, and they're an opportunity for him. After all, Carlos has a pretty good track record of leaving every team he's with in a much better place than it was when he started. And who wouldn't seriously consider being the linchpin of a works team? A few years of pain with the possibility of great reward in the future, all built around you? Like, no shade to Hulkenberg, the guy's been pretty consistently awesome since he came back to the grid, but Sainz is a lot younger and his reputation for team contribution and the quality of feedback is pretty decent. Which brings me to the Williams of it all. In the team representative's press conference in the lead up to the Canadian Grand Prix, Andrea Stella spent a not insignificant amount of time singing Carlos Sainz's praises. Honestly, it made him sound like he was the second coming of Jim Clark or something. And then when Tom Clarkson followed that up with a direct question to James Vowles about whether or not he found that prospect appealing, Vowles answered obviously in the affirmative. But I don't think he needed the sales pitch from one of Carlos's former colleagues. He'd already been pretty clear about who his target was for that seat alongside Alex Albon. And the last time there were rumblings this loud about a deal being pretty much done, that was with Checo a few days prior. But why Williams? What do they have to offer that Sauber don't? Williams, after all, has had some pretty damn terrible weekends this year. They had to give one driver the other's car, and they haven't been able to run the same spec on both cars for quite a long time now. They're foundering down in second to last place in the Constructors' Championship, behind Alpine, who at the start of the season were the slowest car by a margin. Considering how many times we've seen the Williams in the wall this year, I'd say it's probably just as tricky a car to drive as the Sauber. So really it all comes back to that loved and valued thing. Carlos Sainz is making it really clear that he has no interest in being involved in some toxic workplace shenanigans. Now, if you're a Logan Sargent fan, I know what you're thinking. You're probably right now screaming into your screen about how Williams is clearly a toxic environment, that they haven't given Logan a big enough chance, they haven't given him enough time, maybe he's like Yuki and needs a few more seasons to settle in before he starts getting really good. Mate, this is Formula One. If you don't have the cash or you don't have the backing, then you gotta perform. Sure, it's always kind of uncomfortable when your boss is openly courting somebody else to take your job when it hasn't even been confirmed that you're not going to be in it next year, but I think everyone knows the writing on the walls here, including Logan. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he was told last year when he signed his contract for this year that was going to be the last one. Now listen, I'm really not the kind of person who is going to put faith in an organisation that is owned by a venture capital firm. I have an allergy. I once nearly lost my job when the controlling private equity firm deliberately ran the company that I've worked for the past 5 years into the ground and then put it into administration. I found out on my honeymoon. Yeah, that was super cool. And I'd literally just moved island, which anyone who's ever lived in Aotearoa, New Zealand knows what a rigmarole that is, for a job a few months earlier. So it goes without saying that I certainly have my reservations about these kind of ownership arrangements. But you know, despite Dorilton's investment, Williams really seems to be on the up and up. Out of all of the drivers on the grid, the people that I would trust the most to do a vibe check are Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon. Alex has kind of been through the ringer, and he seems like a really solid dude, right? He seems like a good judge of character and of team culture, and he's already been chewed up and spat out by the Red Bull hit the ground running or else machine of pain and horror. If Alex is willing to commit himself to a team for multiple years, when other options were very clearly available to him, then I trust that environment is probably pretty decent. For F1 anyway. He's gone on record saying how much he appreciates the openness of communication, the team's willingness for change, and that he's got faith in their potential to progress up the field. James Vowles, he just kind of instills a great amount of confidence when you hear him speak, even when the you-know-what's hitting the fan. Now, I'm not saying that kind of cult leader level of public speaking ability is always a good sign of a good leader, but the guy's pretty well respected and he seems pretty much liked by all. He also doesn't seem to have taken any leaves out of the Toto wolf through your headset when you're having a bad day at school style of leadership. He's instead kind of opted for a more softly spoken, measured approach. And I respect that. It takes a lot to form your own style when you've been working with somebody who's got such a strong personality for such a long period of time. So really when I look at a team that's got Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz and James Vowles as their most prominent team members, I see a group of people who know how to get things done, who know how to have tough conversations while still respecting and valuing one another, and could quite easily become a major force to be reckoned with. And I know all of the buzz around Adrian Newey is still mostly around Ferrari, but honestly I'm kind of fully of the belief that if he does sign with another team rather than sailing off into the retirement sunset, it's going to be some kind of contractor arrangement with Williams, an advisory role on his old team to support Pat Fry when it's needed. So what do you think? Is Carlos going to land at Alpine? Haas? Is he going to just go and spend the rest of his life on a beach somewhere in Mallorca? Tell me what you think in the comments, and if you really feel like it, give this video a like and maybe subscribe to my channel. It's really appreciated. I mean, personally, I'm rooting for two golfing appendixless Red Bull rejects to bring Williams back to the front of the field. There's just something incredibly satisfying about that fantasy, don't you think?